We now move from being safe, instituting the uh, concept of people's trust news and how that is instituted and taken care of safely, and we move to the uh, real content of Book 5, which is the workers versus the rich. Now, you understand this is a addition to what is in Book 5, appendix, if you want to call it that, but it gives you a lot more detail about what we've been talking about all along. Kind of hopefully a finishing up of what we've been saying. So what we say is, sadly, the highest priority of our government right now is to take care of the government. Did you hear what they said? The highest priority of our government, the highest priority was supposed to be safety and giving the people as much freedom as possible. Sadly, the highest priority of our government right now is its ability to take care of the government. In other words, take care of themselves. However, you still think the government will take care of you and your problems. They always do. We can trust them. Can't we trust them? The people and groups who research the problem with the democratic governmental system all say the very same thing. People and groups. What are they talking about? They're talking about think tanks. They're talking about real wise people, people that figure things out. They all say the same thing, which is, kind of weird. You'd think that the Republicans wouldn't say the same thing as the Democrats. You wouldn't think that this think tank would say the same thing that think tank does. But they all say the same thing. They say if the common man is educated and knowledgeable, the common man will solve all of their problems, all of their governmental and financial and all the problems. What are they saying? They're saying that if the common man is educated and knowledgeable, what's the People's Trust News? Educating and making you knowledgeable. If the common man is educated and knowledgeable, the common man will solve all of their problems. Almost every person who does the research and thinks about it says that. Almost every think tank says that. They all say that. Okay, we want the truth. You want the truth? You can't handle the truth, which came from the movie A Few Good Men screened by Jack Nicholson. Almost everybody's seen that particular thing. You can't handle the truth. And that is the reason why the government says we, the common people, cannot know the truth. The reason we have trillions of dollars stolen from us is because we don't know the truth. We can't handle the truth. Actually, can't we handle the truth? The overchargers are cleverly advertising that there are all these conspiracy theories out there that you can't trust. But you can trust, now this is what they're saying, you can trust the overchargers owned government because it offers to kindly tell you which piece of information is a conspiracy theory that you can't trust and which one is the truth that you can trust because the government owned entertainment nightly news TV program tells you over and over again that it's true. And that's part of advertising. That's what they do. So here we're talking about the worker versus the rich, and we're going to let the People's Trust News dig into the information, but we can tell you a lot right now. So here comes the truth about the workers versus the rich. You can't handle the truth, is what they're telling you. You have to be babied and paddled and taken care of, and you have to be told what to believe and what not to believe. So we're telling you that you can handle the truth. We know you can handle the truth. And so we're going to go into the situation as the worker versus the, what you call the overchargers or the very rich. We're talking about the very, very rich. Okay, the government now owned by the overchargers say that we have to allow the entitled not to work. They say the entitled can get up at noon after carousing all night, sit out on their porch and watch those who are working go back to work at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. then those same entitled people demand their pay because they're entitled to it. And since they believe they're entitled to even more, they slip out of their holes at night and rob us and drug our children. Now, that's a pretty strong thing to say, but that's what the overchargers see. That's what the overchargers believe. And is it true? Part of it's true. Do you see the people sitting on their porches while other people are going to work? Yeah, and those people on the porches are welfare people? Yes, but it isn't all true. And so, you know, but you have this group of people we'll call the Republicans, not all Republicans, but we'll call them Republican thought anyway, that those people think they're entitled and they can sit on their porch and watch you work all day to pay for their entitlement, and that's wrong. And it is wrong, and totally justified in saying that. And the other side of the coin is the Democrats used to be, not so much anymore, but we'll say the concept of the poor worker has to be taken care of somewhat. The poor worker is not afraid to work. The poor worker is working, but you have to give the worker enough to not break even, which is what you see very frequently for the second person in the home who goes to work, and the babysitter charges them, and the car costs money, and the insurance for the car costs money, and gas for the car, and they get 32 hours if they're lucky of work, and they end up breaking even. Now, do you know what break even means? It means that after they get through paying all the bills, they haven't made any money. So they go to work in order to pay for everything that it costs to go to work, and they're not making any money. So on that side, you have one person that used to work to make enough money to have the family survive. Now you got two people working, and the family's supposed to survive, although it's shaky at best. And it's like, yay, employer, for doing such a fantastic job of fooling the common worker. So let's go back and resolve these problems. Sitting on the porch at noon watching people go back to work is wrong. Getting your welfare check and believing that you're entitled to more is wrong. Not working is wrong for a whole bunch of reasons, not just the fact that you aren't working and the Republicans want you to work, but because your self-esteem is low. You're being given to, that you're being supported by the people that are working. I mean, you know it in your heart. You can't get around it in your heart. You might, stand up and say that it isn't true, but it is. So we're coming in here and saying it's time to change things. Okay, what are the things that we're going to change? We should be demanding that everyone who can work must work, and only then do they get paid. We should be demanding that the government create jobs. Now, remember, the unions are no longer in existence. We're demanding that the government create jobs for those who can work, and hire supervisors for them to make sure that the work that they're doing is what we want, that they are doing it correctly, and make sure they're working. So we should demand that the government would create jobs for those who can work and hire supervisors for them, since we are paying for their existence anyway. At $10 an hour for 32 hours, not 40 hours, 32 hours of work, for 50 weeks in the year, is $16,000 per year, $16,000 for a worker per year. That's what we could pay everyone who is a base level worker, in addition to the benefits at that level of work. What are the benefits? The new benefits for the base level worker will be described in a bit. We then have the government hire. Now you understand the plus benefits. They get $16,000 a year plus benefits that bring them well above $20,000 a year. So we then have the government hire supervisors to find jobs, create jobs, and supervise the work that will fit the requirements of the base level worker. What are the requirements of the base level worker? We talked about that earlier in terms of job safety and non-slavery and general work. You know, what are they talking about? They could be talking about fixing an area so that it becomes a park. They're talking about fixing a bridge system so that it's safe. They're talking about fixing the roads. They're talking about, I don't know what they're talking about. That's the whole object of having a government that's for you. They figure out what it is that the people can do, and they'll have them do it. And they'll have them do it in their own area. So that's the one thing that we're looking at, is that the supervisors find jobs, invent jobs, if you will, create jobs, if you will, and then supervise the work that the base level worker will do. Supervise means supervise, be there and get them going and get them to work and work their 30 hours, 32 hours a week, and they get paid, and they're workers, and if they fix your roads, are you going to cry? If they fix your bridges before they collapse, are you going to cry? If they make parks that have never existed before, are you going to cry? Are your grandchildren going to cry? No, everybody's for that. Now, let's add another little thing to it, and something that most of you don't look at, but you need to. We have another serious problem, and one that is really, it's kind of a really strange thing. We have robots, and the robots and AI problem. The problem being that the robots and the AI computers are starting to take away our jobs. So now we only got you working 32 hours a week, but it might be less than that for all of them, because there just isn't jobs. The people keep getting laid off because the robot is taking their place, and the manufacturer is saying, boy, I save money, and these robots are great. And nobody sit down and say, let's say, your own government will be able to figure out what the number of hours are that we really need to have done. But what good is it to have these robots and the AI doing all the work if the humans do not benefit? What good is it to have robots and AIs doing all the work if we humans do not benefit? They emphasize that in red. What good does it do if what are they saying? It's great. You got a robot that's doing your work, and you don't have to work, and now you're wait, you have to work because the government's got you working. How do we benefit? Well, the manufacturer will tell you that having a robot take your place is a lot cheaper for him, and so we're saving money. And the thing that you have to do is take a good look at that and say, wait a minute. If you take a robot and replaces a man on the production line, that man on the production line is now out of work, and the government pays his welfare until he gets a job, and that welfare that's being paid is coming out of your pocket. Now, how did you gain? The manufacturer gained, but how did you gain? You didn't. As with all things, you end up paying for the person that's out of a job no matter what, and the manufacturer has got this robot doing the job and saving money, but he's not paying a penny for the person that's off the production line. So in reality, it's costing us a tremendous amount of money to have a robot work in manufacturing. If now, you understand, we're not saying get rid of the robots either, because you never will. The robots will take over, but that's years and years and years away, maybe, hopefully. And in the meantime, we have to do something for those workers that are out of a job. And you say, well, damn it all, make them work. You set up, you who say that, you who say get these damn people to work, you set up the jobs that you have out there in the non-government world, and you have enough jobs for everybody that pay you a decent wage, 20,000, 25,000, 30,000 a year, so they don't have to go on welfare. They have a car or two, they have television, they have the common things that a man might normally expect to have, instead of sitting in the living room on a folding chair looking at a wall, which is what the wealthy want you to do as an employee, because you don't have any money and they have it all. It makes, we're not going to go into that, but you understand what we're saying. So basically, you have a robot that comes in with artificial intelligence, which is what artificial intelligence is, what AI means, and that means robotic computer type intelligence, taking your job away from you. And what happens is you end up for a period of time doing nothing, and somebody's paying for that doing nothing. There are no jobs out there that are reasonably paid, that are in abundance so that everybody can work, and that's such a big lie that the government hides, and the corporations hide, and the overcharges hide, and everybody hides. There are no jobs. There are no reasonable jobs for all those people that you talk about. So we're saying invent them. And the first thing you're going to say is, okay, you got all these jobs for all these people, and they're no longer sitting on the porch, and they have to work, they have to do something, and they're being supervised. And we forgot one factor here. In the do nothing worker who's being paid welfare, you have these people that are high paid government employees who do nothing but shuffle paper. And we're not talking about all of them, of course, but way too many. And what we're going to do is eliminate those jobs. We now have even more money to put into the You Have to Work program, and everyone who can is working. That gives us a base level of worker who will do all manner of things they would like to have done instead of sitting on their porch. You understand what we're saying here? We are supporting these entitled now, and they are not working. We pay the government, and on top of that, we pay the government to give the entitled their money now. We pay them too much for the programs, and there are a lot of programs, and still the entitled do not work. At what point are we going to start Dodge City and put your guns in the sheriff's office kind of thing? Let's get it corrected. Oh, we cannot do that because it's too complicated. Yeah, and complicated it is for sure. And that's the way it was planned. If the overchargers had made it complicated, it's only to hide the fact that they always do. But they hide facts. So let's go into the facts then. What's the first fact? First fact. The non-working poor are being supported by our government using its 126 different welfare programs with their thousands of grossly overpaid employees to give the entitled their money now. We pay too much for those programs, and they are truthfully not working. We let the parents and grandparents support so many of the non-workers, and many do not get enough support to stay well. But we hide those facts by getting the failures, health failures especially, to the hospital where they can die in a government-accepted manner, and the entitled still do not work. And now what they're trying to point to you is the fact that you pay for it all. And from the Moyer and Company Economic and Work is what they entitled the thing. They say the surprising truth behind tax day, where your tax goes. That's April 14th, 2014, updated April 14th, 2016, by Robin Claremont. And this is what he wrote. Income tax paid by individuals account for 47% of all income tax revenue. 47% by individuals in your tax collected by the government, which are checked projected to be $3.18 trillion in 2015. Other tax revenue comes from payroll tax paid jointly by workers and employees, accounting for 34%. So we have 47 and 34%, and corporate income tax paid by business would make up 11%. So we have the common worker paying his tax bill, and that covers 40% of the federal tax revenue. Then the payroll tax, which is Social Security tax, payroll tax on top of that is paid by the worker and the employee, or employer, and that accounts for 34%. And the rest is paid by the corporate income tax paid by businesses. The federal government doesn't. Now this is what they're saying. The federal government doesn't make it easy to find out where your tax money goes. You understand that 47% of all federal tax revenue paid by you is paid by you. However, 34% in payroll tax is also paid by you when you understand that you've become more efficient with your labor, which means working harder and working while not being paid for the extra work. And you have been paid not one penny more for that more efficient work. So in effect, you have paid your share of the payroll tax, and then also paid for the government or a company's share, and probably even more. They're saying that you become more efficient, but you've got not paid one penny more for it. The corporation or the business is paying half of your payroll tax, and what they're saying is the increase in your efficiency easily paid for all of the payroll tax, not including their share. So now all of a sudden you're paying the 34% too, and all of a sudden you're paying 81% instead of their lie, which basically they said you want to pay 47%, but the company pays 34%, and then the corporate income tax pays 11%. So you don't even pay half. Well, all of a sudden we find out that you're paying 81% of the tax revenue so far. And then we add the 11% corporate tax, which you pay an increased cost of goods. And they put in brackets, you think the corporations don't just pass the tax rate on to you in the form of increase of cost and goods, do you? Do you really believe that? Now you're going to pay 92% of the tax revenue. Oh, don't forget all the licenses and fees you pay. They are to hide the total amount of money that you pay to the government. So you're at 92%, and then you got all these taxes and licenses and fees that you have to pay on top of everything else, which are there to be a federal or state or local income tax or a tax, and they're hiding it so that they don't want you to find out what you're actually paying. Now it's pretty easy to see from what you've just seen there that you're paying for everything. It's also easy to see that overcharges are hiding what you pay in their 47% of the federal income tax revenues bowl. What they said was, what they're trying to point out to you is that you only pay 47% of the federal government income, and that's come on. We just showed you that's not even close to true. You're paying for everything. It's so bad that the rich are saying that it's so bad that the rich are saying they are paying in 2014 the people with adjusted gross income, or AGI, adjusted gross income, above $250,000 paid just over half, 51.6% of all the individual income tax. Now, that's on top of what we saw there before. They come out and say, oh, these people that make $250,000 a year paid just over, or more, paid just over 51.6, over half of all the individual income tax. Now we're talking about we go to the 47%, the federal income tax. Of that 47% income tax, you see that the overchargers are making those that are making $250,000 pay just over half of the individual income tax, and wow, they pay that much. Yes, they do, and every penny of it is from the tremendous theft from you by the overcharging. Again, you and they're saying, even in that lie that I mean, it's not a lie, but it's we're trying to say that you don't even pay 50% of the individual income tax. You don't pay it because you don't make it. You don't make the income. They make the income. They steal from you, and they pay over half of the income tax because they steal so damn much from you. So again, there you are being told one thing, and it sounds terrible. People say, well, they pay that much. 51.6% of all individual income tax. Wow. No. If all the so again, you pay for it. And they want to show you how. Bring the overcharger's income down to $400,000 a year, and they will pay almost nothing compared to you. All the other money will go back to the government. The government, or reduces the cost of goods, so you pay less, making the effort to take care of those in need much fewer that are in need at this point in time. Easy done with spare money. What are they saying? They're saying if you weren't stealing from us, you wouldn't have to pay so much taxes. You wouldn't be making the income. All that income that you were stealing from us would go to the federal government until they figure out a way to make the goods cost less, and the federal government will have plenty of money to pay for the people working. So you pay it all. You're paying for all of welfare. If you're paying for all of welfare anyway, why not dump all the programs instituted to hide all manner of things that the overchargers do not want you to know, and make it simple and much more beneficial for those who are receiving the help, and much more beneficial to you because it's going to cost less. Or maybe it costs the same, but everybody's working, which is one of those things that is a valid point. So second fact, you pay for everything. They're hiding it, and they're sneaking around, and they're not letting you know, and they're advertising that they're doing such a wonderful job. They're not. They're stealing. They're robbing. You need to get that squared away. And what they say is the Dodge City, get your guns and put them in the sheriff's office. It's time to put an end to there isn't a good word for what they do. Put an end to overcharging. So they say there's about 1 million, then 3 zeros, then 3 zeros, then 3 zeros, then 3 zeros. Let's see, that's 1,000, 1 trillion. 1 trillion being spent on welfare. The claim about 1 trillion being spent on welfare is complicated. It shows up in a recent report from the Cato Institute, which argues that the federal government spends $608 billion per year on 668 billion on 126 different welfare spending programs. Spending by the state and local government push that figures up to 1 trillion per year. So they figure roughly, and nobody can sit down and figure it out squarely, but anyway, let's just say roughly 1 trillion a year is spent on welfare. The current 126 separate federal programs are designed to fight poverty, and we haven't even begun to discuss the state programs. In total, then, they report the United States is spending nearly $1 trillion every year to fight poverty. That amounts to $20,610 for every poor person in the United States. Every person that's on the welfare rolls would be making $20,610 per year, or $61,830 per poor family of 3 every year. That's what they'd be making.